welcome to Pulibrus Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now, you may see the title of this video and be a little bit like, you really gonna tackle this, like, very broad, blunt topic? Yeah, I'll do it in the best way I can. You know, the only way I can, but I mean, it's obviously not going to be I'm not going to be the most well-spoken and in-depth or whatever. Okay, I mean, I will be in-depth, I guess, but not most well-spoken, as you can tell. I was debating this among other topics, but I'm like, I think it was really more thinking about other topics, but then I'm like, no, this unfortunate circumstances have pretty much moved my hand to make this the subject. So, with all that crap out of the way, let's get right into the news. Well, this one is kind of the most relevant in regards to this, but not directly relevant. You'll see what I mean in a second. Florida law restricting felon voting is unconstitutional, judge rules. A Florida law requiring people with serious criminal convictions to pay court fines and fees before they can register to vote is unconstitutional. A federal judge ruled on Sunday, declaring that such a requirement would amount to a poll tax and discriminate against felons who cannot afford to pay. So, it basically explains how this, especially considering, I don't know if they go in depth in the article itself, but considering, police and incarceration numbers, this probably isn't, they pretty much agree that this is effectively just a new poll tax for blacks. And yeah, 100%. When you have a prison industrial complex, yeah, this is, like, and I know there are going to be some people in the comments or somewhere saying, like, no, but what are you talking about? You'll see more what I mean in, like, later in the episode, because I'll give you, like, numbers and such, I guess. So, let's move on to the next topic, which is kind of irrelevant, but I thought it was somewhat worth mentioning. Tulsi Gabbard drops defamation lawsuit against Hillary Clinton. Representative Tulsi Gabbard dropped the defamation lawsuit she filed against Hillary Clinton on Wednesday, ending a short-lived legal battle where the congresswoman contended that the former Secretary of State and Democratic presidential nominee lied about her ties to Russia during the 2019 interview. The lawsuit stemmed from Clinton saying that Gabbard, then a 2020 presidential candidate, was being groomed to run as a third-party candidate and was the favorite of the Russians. Clinton, in the same interview, suggested that the person she was talking about was a Russian asset, while not naming the Hawaii Democrat. Plaintiffs Tulsi Gabbard and Tulsi Now Inc. dismissed the action, Gabbard's lawyers say. While they remain certain the action's legal merit, they are just as certain that this new COVID and post-COVID world would require them to focus their time and attention to other priorities, including defeating Donald Trump in 2020, rather than righting the wrongs here. Now, yeah. A spokesperson from Gabbard didn't respond to comment, and a person who is associated with Hillary Clinton said, "This was a publicity stunt through and through, and this filing makes it clear." And he literally wrote in a written statement, "Good riddance" in Russian. So, yeah. Tulsi, you just added legitimacy to the argument that you are a Russian asset. Because, if this wasn't, because they're going to be like, well, if it wasn't real, then why did she not keep pursuing? It doesn't even matter anyways. Tulsi's irrelevant. Nobody cares about Tulsi Gabbard anymore. Now, I know Nico has this in the comments going to be like, Tulsi. But, look, Tulsi is irrelevant now. She's not running for president. She's not running for a house. She's going to just fade away. Now, I know some people might not want that, and some people might be thinking that she might run for Senate in the future, but, just logistically think about this. Tulsi is not really in the best place for a Senate run. Like, she's not going to be an incumbent member of whatever. Like, she's not going to be an incumbent, so ergo, pretty, like, not in a good spot. But then, you know, like, if she were still in the House, she'd probably be in a better position to run for Senate, like people wanted her to do in 2018. But, you know, it just doesn't seem likely that she's going to run for Senate. Many people were saying, like, oh, this is just for a Fox News job. But, I mean, that doesn't seem to be on the horizon either. So, there's literally nothing in Tulsi's future. Anyways, let's move on to the next story. Trump signs executive order targeting social media companies, calls it a big day for fairness. It comes after Twitter added fact checks to 2 of Trump's president's tweets. President Donald Trump on Thursday signed an executive order targeting Twitter and other social media giants, saying that he has taken action to defend free speech from the one gravest danger it has in American history, after Twitter called 2 of his tweets potentially misleading. Calling it a big deal, Trump said that the order allows for new regulations so that social media companies that engage in censorship or any political conduct will not be able to keep their liability shield. But experts say he probably can't do much without congressional approval, and any move will be met with legal challenges. So, I mean, on one hand, there's a lot of iffiness in this. For starters, the fact checkers, many people have been trying to get fact checkers passed in, like, all of these things, you know, Instagram and stuff, to, like, try to prevent fake news, and people think it's inevitably a good thing. But here's the thing. Who's checking the facts, and how will it be accomplished? Like, for example, you know, Twitter is accused of left bias. Now, of course they aren't, but they're just saying they're accused of being, like, biased to the left. So, like, why would any Republican want them to, you know, fact check? And let's say there was a website that had a prominent right-wing bias. Why would you honestly want them to be fact checking? And I might say, no, but we need to do it through a government agency. Really? You really want the government to check your facts? Yeah. A couple years ago, it was a fact that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. It was a fact that Cuba was a huge dictator who was on his way to destroy our way of life. It was a fact that Japanese people were secret spies that were trying to get at us and cause Pearl Harbor 2.0. It was a fact that African Americans were property. You really want the government to be checking your facts? This is literally Soviet talk. Now, I know we might say, like, oh, but communism, but, like, this is seriously Soviet talk. Like, you are saying that these people, that the government gets to pretty much say what's right and what's wrong, what's real and what's fiction. That quells literally every single political opposition ever. No matter if you're coming at it from the left, from the right, center, whatever. It's literally just saying, yeah, you know that whole thing about how you're saying that the U.S. is trying to do, like, you know, regime change in Venezuela for oil? No, the facts are that Maduro is an evil tyrant that we must destroy because he will destroy our way of life. That's literally what's gonna happen. Like, if we make it so that the government fact checks it, the people have to be their own fact checkers. And, like, Twitter's been doing, like, just some real BS stuff. Like, a new feature that you can do, that I've been seeing in certain tweets, was that now you can literally just hide your replies. You can literally just hide your replies. And now you can make it so that people can't reply to you unless they're tagged in a post. Guess who got those perks first? Not me. Blue checks. I mean, actually, like from all the ways I don't have blue checks on my Twitter because I use the dark versions of Twitter, so it's like white checks. But like, you get my point. They're just using this so that they could circle jerk some more without being ratioed. Seriously, this is just bullshit, and it should be a Wild West. Everybody should be allowed to talk about each other. Everybody should be free to like debunk and talk about whatever. Whatever, I don't give a shit. Free speech to the end. The people will be their own fact checkers. The problem is that people just immediately think like people are stupid and they'll believe anything they read on the internet, and which is to an extent true. But there are going to be a decent amount of other people that are going to use social media to try and debunk the stuff themselves. And of course you're going to get it from people who are doing malicious. And there are going to be some people who are going to try and fact check to be like, QAnon is real. Pizza Pepe is real. But, you know, you're going to get some people who are going to also try and debunk that. If you just censor them, you give them validation. Because it's like, oh, the government's trying to hide my speech. That's the truth. I don't get it. We all are supposedly in agreement. Censorship is bad. And yet, we continue to do censorship. Like, look at it. Literally every single TV show that you can think of. Pretty much no TV show you can ever think of that talks about censorship is always like, censorship good. And yet those same people will censor criticisms about them. It's of course literally just people who want to be the harbingers of truth and whatever. If you try to debunk them, they'll hate you. Let's move on to the next story. Trump announces U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization. It's unclear if he can do that. President Donald Trump just announced that the United States will withdraw from the World Health Organization, a decision that will likely harm the top international health body in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic. Speaking on Friday afternoon from the Rose Garden, Trump repeated his accusations that the organization had failed to warn the world about the coronavirus danger in a timely manner due to pressure from Beijing, because the president claims that the global body is now beholden to China, a somewhat dubious claim. He said it's no longer worth it for the U.S. to remain a WHO member. China has total control over the World Health Organization, the president said. For that reason, the U.S. will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization. Trump is right to note that the WHO didn't make some mistakes early on in the pandemic, such as not pushing China to allow international inspectors into the country as the coronavirus outbreak grew, and falsely asserting that in January, the Chinese authorities found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of COVID-19. Yeah, but the thing is, believe it or not, this is a stupid idea. In the middle of a global pandemic, the best solution is not to, remove yourself from the only organization that is, going to actually talk about and try to combat like this. It's probably not in your best interest to do that. But I mean, Trump isn't exactly the smartest egg in the sack. So it's obvious why he would do it. Because, we need to stop China. Because everything's ruled by the Chinese, I guess. Which is almost true, but kind of. Okay, so now let's move on to the last story, which is just something funny, to be honest. To me, at least. Justice Department drops insider trading investigations of 3 senators. Okay, so we all remember there were like 4 senators. There were 4 senators that were charged with insider trading due to the coronavirus. Because as soon as they heard about the coronavirus, they sold stocks. And they got in trouble. Well, here's what happened. Kelly Loeffler, Dianne Feinstein, and Johnny Isakson were all no, not Johnny Isaacson, James Inhofe, they all were just pretty much let off the hook. However, Richard Spur, he is still in trouble. It's kind of funny to me, just like North Carolina senators can't catch a break. Tillis is pretty much on his way out, whereas Burr is not necessarily getting the best treatment. North Carolina kind of looked down on their side department. We haven't had a good senator in North Carolina since like Marion Butler. Everyone else has been shit. I mean, but whatever. We all understand that. Pretty much no senator has been good for a while. So yeah, not much else to say in that department. Okay, so now let's move on to the smaller candidate of the day. Sean Howard for president. Sean Howard is a banker and former chief officer from Florida who is on the ballot in 10 states. He's running as an independent candidate, and here's some of his platform planks. Wealth tax. Democratic Party candidates on the far left have lately been pushing wealth tax to raise revenue from federal government. In their view, billionaires in this country need to pay for more than the less fortunate. Okay, so he's against a wealth tax. Okay. Prescription drug prices. You need to limit Medicare prescription drug prices. Unions. Like, it seems he comes off as more of like a centrist candidate. And, you know, that ain't gonna cut it in modern day America, but whatever. Okay, but he just seemed to have like a slight against on, you know, lobbyists. You see a lot of third party candidates, they seem to hate lobbyists. They only usually agree, even if they're like super moderate or such, they usually agree, you know, bad lobbyists, bad, because lobbyists don't give them money. So yeah. Okay, so Sean is not good, so let's move on to the main topic of this video, which is unfortunately very relevant. But you see, since this topic is on everybody's mind, I guess it'd be best to discuss it. Okay, so let me go into okay, so we all know what recently happened. George Floyd, an African-American gentleman, was doing something, and then a police officer tackled him to the ground and put his knee on the back of his throat, and then you know, it killed him because of that. Because, you know, surprisingly, a knee on the back of your neck equals suffocation. See, apparently police don't go to medical school. You know, what a shock. And as such, there have been a decent amount of protests, or to some people, riots, kind of a mix of both. There's been a lot of things going on. Like, I'm just going to rattle off some of the things that I've seen happen. The police shot at a news reporter. Police shot at a peaceful protester for just trying to stop a SWAT car. Police pepper sprayed a young girl. They walked up to a man and pepper sprayed him and removed his mask because of, you know, he was wearing a mask because of Corona. A Target was burned down because, like, now you might say, well, what did Target do? Well, apparently, you know, the protesters were going inside of the Target to buy some milk because, you know, people were getting pepper sprayed. So, you know, you gotta pour milk in your eyes to, like, help calm down and, like, make the pepper spray not hurt so much. But the Target stopped selling it to them, so they just said, fuck it, and just started tearing shit down. Then, news report, quote, McDonald's has fallen. You know, because McDonald's was a huge regime. That is 100% true. They have 99.9 billion people served, And they were the ones who were able to broker a deal between the US and the Soviet Union in the Cold War. Remember, Gorbachev wanted that sweet money that McDonald's would give him. It was in the epic rap battle parody. Shook hands with both Ronalds, Reagan, and McDonald's. Okay, but, like, a lot of shit has been going down. And, you know, there have been some people who've had varying degrees of interpretations of this. Let's start with the left. I don't want to generalize, but the good guys, they've seen this as both a mixed bag, and, like, you know, there's some people who are, you'd probably call them, like, the liberal guys, you know, like, the people that are left on some things, but not, like, quite. You know, they're like, they look at FDR, and they don't see, like, the huge swathing things, like, they look at JFK and Obama as, like, their heroes. They go, like, okay, I understand the protest, but do we need to be rioting? And then you have the more revolutionary leftists that are like, burn this shit to the ground. Especially considering a lot of the people that are being targeted by this are either cops or corporations. And Arby's was broken into, and they were saying, we have the mates now, bitch. And it's like, you're not really seeing, like, I mean, I understand where people are coming from, like, oh, this is violent, but you gotta also understand, this isn't like a one-time thing. This is a boiling point. This has been building up for years. I'm probably gonna get into it later, but, like, this isn't just like, obviously this is not the first time this has happened, and obviously this probably won't be the last one either. Partial reason why is because people aren't willing to admit when something's wrong. Because on the right side of the aisle, they've had various other viewpoints on this. For example, some right-wingers immediately went to try and dig up, like, oh, did he steal something when he was a child? Did he jaywalk in the streets? What did he do? When, you know, believe it or not, I don't remember the death penalty being the thing for that. Like, jaywalking in the streets or stealing something, believe it or not, I don't think it's worthy of death. And it's weird. Like, I don't even understand where conservatives are coming from. Like, oh, some of them say, like, oh, this was just justified. It's like, no, this was not justified. Let me give you a scenario where it would be justified. Man runs up with knife and is like, me stab you, cop, or me shoot you, cop. And then cop go, oh no, me worried, bam, bam. That's the only scenario where it's justified. Otherwise, like, this is literally the scenario. George Floyd, he was on the ground with 3 cops on top of him, 2 holding him down, 1 with his knee on his throat, and he was saying, I can't breathe. And then people were yelling at him like, yo, why you gotta be on his neck, bro? Why you gotta be on his neck? And then he passes out, and they're like, yo, he stopped moving. You can get your knee off of his neck. And then there's, like, they put their, like, hand next to his, like, vein to get, like, a pulse, and then they just keep with his knee on the neck. It's like, this is literally what people would make fun of in South Park. This is a South Park joke. Excessive force for nothing. I don't even, like, apparently he was charged with a check bouncing to get groceries. $20. A $20 check bounced. No, it wasn't even that it bounced. They thought it was a fake check. And it turns out it was not a fake check. And then they were just like, death? Like, I don't understand this. oh, $20. $20 equals death. I'm going to 100% assume that the cops didn't believe that a black man could have $20. They were just like, nah, that's too rich for a black man. No. Oh yeah, but here's another interpretation of these events that really just shows the absolute stupidity of not Christianity. Well, yes, Christianity, but conservatism. Hence why I don't really talk about conservatism as much of the show, because they don't, when you just hear them make these arguments, it's like, how are you still relevant? How are there people in modern day America who identify with you? How do you have such a following? This comes from good old Candace Owens, because she's the only person that could actually make this argument and not be accused of racism. She said that these protesters were funded by George Soros. Yeah. An actual human being made that argument. An actual person with a functional brain. Oh, scratch that. No, I'm talking about Candace Owens. No. An actual person made this argument, and people are running with it. Look, it would be one thing if some stupid person, i.e. Candace Owens, made this argument, and then just the end. But people have been, commenting and stuff like, yeah, this is Soros-funded Marxist, evil. It's like, so you seriously believe that black people are stupid enough that they cannot protest on their own, that they need a Jewish man to be like, I will give you money for protest, and then you believe that that's what happened, and not African Americans were like, hey, I disagree with this huge political issue, I'm gonna voice my opinion via a protest. Do you seriously believe this? I mean, of course they do. They're conservatives. They don't believe African Americans. They barely believe African Americans have the right to vote. Now, that may seem controversial, but think about it. A couple of years ago, conservatives were not even okay with African American people voting. And this comes off not that long ago. We were hearing a story about an African American man, Ahmaud Arbery. He was literally lynched. He was literally just they literally, and this is not even a joke or a gag, but they literally just had two white guys in a pickup truck be like, yeah, alright, we gotta go get that Negro and put him in a tree. Yeah. These are real events that have happened. Of course, I try to exaggerate a little bit to be a little funny, but these are real things that are happening. This isn't the plot of a South Park episode. This literally comes out of a South Park episode. It's coming right for us. This is just, I don't get it. Well, I mean, okay, scratch that. I do get it. And these protests, you have to be dumb to not see the race-based problems going on. A couple of weeks ago, or a month ago, I think, I don't remember the exact date, there were armed right-wing militias going into the Minnesota Capitol and talking about we need to get people back to work with the coronavirus. And then people are like, oh, good sir, calm down, how you doing? Calm down, mister, please put the gun away. We need to talk, you have the right to protest, but we need to calm down. And then some African Americans are like, let's protest people literally killing us, and the cops are like, send out the SWAT. You hear it in my voice. It's just, what? I'm lost for words. Seriously. I guess I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent about the Black Lives Matter movement. For those who know, Black Lives Matter was started after Trayvon Martin's death. And he had some choice words to say about them at some points. You know, like, oh, I disagree with their methods, but I agree with their message. At this point, it's like, protest, riot, I don't care anymore. You might be hearing like that and be like, it's blasphemy. How can you say you don't care? Because I'm so desensitized. Like, it's like school shootings. I'm completely desensitized. This is nothing. And they might say, well, I mean, okay, I'll rephrase that in a bit, but like, at this point, this is just normal in America to me. I grew up, it's like how, like, my grandparents, like my great-grandparents, it was just normal to just think African Americans were inferior. This is just normal. Like, oh, yeah, just cops kill black people indiscriminately. Pfft, what you gonna do? Like, and I mean, I'm not in the group of ACAB, all cops are bad. But the problem is, the good cops, they aren't really making themselves well known. You know, if you were a good cop, you probably should decry all of this junk. But, you know, they're not going to, which doesn't make me want to go like, not all cops on Twitter. And like, I heard this thing on the NSF Wong's podcast. And I heard this analogy on there, and it was like a really good analogy, and it's like a phrase that says like, if you have 10 Nazis sitting at a table and 1 non-Nazi sitting at a table, you have 11 Nazis sitting at a table. Because, yeah, there's one person who's technically not a Nazi, but why are you sitting at the table? Yeah, there are some people who probably join the police force, you know, to get people to, like, help people and, you know, fix crime. But the other 9 cops in this hypothetical 10 cop scenario are just there because they really want power. Think about it. The police officer job is literally, you are essentially slightly above everybody else in the law field. I mean, of course, technically the police aren't supposedly above the law. But let's be real. Even if they're not completely above the law, they're kinda above the law. At least slightly above the law. Think about it. They are the ones who put you in jail. You can't put a cop in jail. Everybody likes to make the whole citizen's arrest, but citizen's arrest ain't a thing. It ain't happening. You ain't gonna arrest a cop for doing a bad crime. The cop has the power because he has the gun, he has the canine unit, he has the SWAT team on speed dial, and he has the power. Let's be real. That is true. They have more power than you. And when you tell people, hey, I have this fascinating job, you know, where you can basically have power over other people. People who are power hungry are going to be like, hey, that job sounds pretty cool. I want that job. Like, this is all completely race-based. Like, Black Lives Matter, they're 100% justified, and everybody is justified in this scenario. I mean, of course, not the cops. And, of course, it doesn't look like the cop who did this, he's currently in custody, but it seems to be more of like, oh, I'm in custody for my safety. But, you know, it's probably more than what's going to happen than, like, let's just, this shit should have been resolved. Like, think about it. This is a scenario that's still happening. Like, the worst thing is, like, this is literally just describable about how our current situation will never be fixed. We keep trying to fix it, but it just keeps not getting fixed. In this particular scenarios, people thought Rodney King would be the last African American who was mistreated by the police. Then people thought, oh, Trayvon Martin and the Zimmerman case will talk about how we need to stop our systemic racism and all this junk. Okay, Michael Brown, Eric Garner. We keep thinking this will be the last one. This will be the one that breaks the straw on the camel's back. But, 24-hour news cycle, unless this happens more, unless the people who are protesting keep protesting, this ain't gonna be fixed in a day. It's gotta be fixed for a long while. And I'm gonna say it, I stand in solidarity with these protesters or rioters. I don't know if I completely agree with their methods, but I don't care. These are people who are mad at an issue and are standing up and they're doing what they can to try and fix the issue. These people will not fix the issue. These are people, it all started just simple protesting and people getting mad. Then cops show up and be like, let's start shooting. The cops, they're not painting themselves in the best picture. This scenario would be completely different if the protesters started rioting while the cops were simply just standing there and be like, we're just here to make sure there's nothing bad going to happen. But the cops are infiltrating the protesters, and these people, we need to stand in solidarity with these guys, because even though I said a little bit ago, we keep thinking that this will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It really looks like this one could be at least important in moving the dialogue. Now, I did want to give some numbers and such about the crime rates and such. The most recent numbers I could find on this subject are in 2017. At the end of 2017, the U.S. held about 475,900 inmates who were black. It was and before that, they had larger numbers. And of course, depending on who you ask, these are the crimes that are look, you can't look, this is an audio thing. But whites make up 64% of the adult population. They make up 3% of the prison population. Blacks make up 12%, 33% of the prison population. You might say, some conservatives might just be just because blacks commit more crimes. Or maybe it's just because they're overpoliced. And maybe it's because they have other factors. You could just look up all the information on this. There are other factors, sometimes whites and African Americans, they both go into jail for the same crime. Then African Americans go to jail for that crime, and white people might get a lesser sentence. You can just see it. Just objectively. There are a lot more people who can eloquently do this information better than I can, but you can just be objective and just see it. Now, some conservatives just want to go in through the major circular ideology of blacks are in jail more because they commit more crimes, because they go to jail more, they commit more crimes, and da-da-da-da. When in fact, it's literally just because of bullshit reasons, like the drug war. The drug war is just stupid. Now, I know this was a shocker of me to say, but yeah, the drug war is stupid. These drug offenses, they go to jail for long periods of time for, weed. And then, you might be like, well, what about crack cocaine? These are higher drugs than weed. Yeah, well, Reagan kind of did. He purposefully gave crack cocaine to African American neighborhoods and decided, hey, we gotta jail you for crack. Like, fuck Reagan. Just fuck Reagan. I mean, okay, well, don't fuck Reagan. He doesn't deserve sexual pleasure. Well, I mean, unless you're a guy, he won't get pleasure out of that. And now conservatives, again, they keep trying to blame other issues because they don't want to accept the responsibility that this is the big issues. Like, one issue they want to point to is the fact that, especially considering, like, the even though we have lesser quote-unquote drug laws now, there's still, like, higher incarceration rates of, like, other crime rates, like murder and such. They might say, well, if you believe it was the drug laws and such, why haven't things changed? And one thing everybody points to is the fact that, you know, African Americans, by and large, don't largely have prominent male figures in their life. Now, this is sort of a stereotype, but it's also, like, legitimate. A lot of African Americans have grown up without a father. Now, conservatives, they like to say, well, yeah, that's why, dummy. But they neglect the fact, like, why is their fathers not, why don't we have fathers? Maybe it's because he's in fucking jail. For what? Weed or crack? And they're like, oh, but yeah, no, deadbeat father wants food stamps. Like, it's why, like, again, I don't talk to conservatives about conservatives a lot on this channel because they just come up with, like, dumb garbage like that. That's your comeback. Like, literally, that's your comeback. Like, oh, we could point to these numbers and statistics that can show that a lot of African Americans go to prison, and due to that fact, African American children grow up without a father and without a male father figure in their life. Some African American boys will turn to crime. They take a well argument like that and then go, no, deadbeat dad, no, like to smoke weed and take food stamps. Like, then there's also another aspect of the issue, the systemic racism. Now, that's just true. Systemic racism is a thing. Just, again, you don't turn your guns on protesters who are black and then not turn your guns on armed protesters in the state's capital because of an oopsie. That's another issue. It's like, is the system racist, ergo it breeds more racists, or is the system bad itself and then racist came into the system? It's a yes, no, maybe kind of thing. It's like both things are kind of in agreement. Like, yes, the system itself can be inherently racist, but it could also be that it was, like, infiltrated by racists, I guess, is a way I kind of describe it. Like, it's again based on the power. Like, if you give people power, they will abuse it. That's just the inevitable truth of the world. Anytime you give someone a position of power, like the ability to get in a position of power, or to do anything related to power, they will abuse it all the way through to the end. That's just objectively true. You'll get some people who want to use the power for good, but by and large, you will get people who just want that power and want to abuse it in any way they can. It's like politicians. You're going to get a Bernie Sanders or an AOC who want to use their power to do good, but by and large, you're going to get the people like Nancy Pelosi's or Kevin McCarthy's who want the power for the sake of power. There's one clip that I was kind of like circulating around that I think is really good, and it's from the Joe Rogan episode where he had Daryl Davis on as a guest. For those who don't know who Daryl Davis is a jazz musician who he like meets up with Klan members, and just through talking with them and trying to, you know, explain like the truth to them, he ends up befriending them and thereby making them leave the Klan. And he was also extending this to other white supremacist groups and likes. But he mostly focuses on the Klan because, I guess it's the group he's most well versed with, just based on like where he lives and such. There's a clip that circulating around that, it's not circulating around, I'm trying to circulate it around, but I think it at least adds another piece of the puzzle in this scenario. Of course it doesn't necessarily like reveal everything, but it adds another piece to the puzzle. This will probably be the longest clip that I play over on the show, but I think it's worth it.
Bob White, Robert White. Robert White used to be the Grand Dragon of Maryland for another Klan group, which was a rival to Roger Kelly's group. All right. When I first heard of Bob White, I was in my late teens, and I heard about him on the news. He had been busted, arrested, and put in jail for conspiring to bomb a synagogue in Baltimore up on Liberty Road, the Liberty Road synagogue. And he was convicted. He went to prison for 4 years. This is before I started writing the book, all that kind of stuff. I just remembered him. And then he got out after doing his time, continued running the Klan, and then some years later, he got busted again. Assault with intent to murder 2 black men with a shotgun. All right? Now understand something. As a Klan leader, you don't make any money, or not a lot, unless you're embezzling money from the dues. And a lot of people do that. That's what causes these splinter groups. If you're a leader, like a wizard or a dragon, you might get like a small stipend out of the dues, but not enough to pay your rent or put food on your table. So you have to have a regular job. Cyclops, wizard, dragon, whatever, these are all just titles. Like Boy Scout leader, you have to have a regular job to pay your rent and mortgage. This man's regular job, when he was doing all this nonsense, bombing places and stuff, Baltimore City police officer.
Yeah, you heard that right. A leader of the Maryland Klan was a Baltimore City police officer. Now, was this because, the police system is inherently racist, ergo it attracted a racist to join it? Or was it that, the Klan joining it was what made it racist? Or, what was the cycle? Personally, it just seems like the power that was in it just led to the Klan wanting to join. And he goes on to say later in the episode, he wasn't the first Klansman in Baltimore to join the police. Just think about this objectively. The Klan has had millions of members in U.S. history. At least a decent amount of them have been police officers. That was kind of why the Klan was considered really scary for Southern black people. They didn't know, if that person who happened to go to their church was also the same person who was burning crosses in their yard telling them to go back to Africa. You don't know. That was the whole scary part of the Klan. That's why they wore the masks. They wanted to hide who they were, really. But, I doubt that, the Klansman scenario was a 9-to-5 job that was just whoa, we clocked out of the day, we're not racist. They obviously took the race-based stuff to do their police jobs. And I don't know if the system is inherently racist, or if it's just racist people who keep proprietarying, what's the word? I don't know the word, but keep circulating the system. It could be a mix of both. I don't know. I'm just some almost 20-year-old doing a podcast in his bedroom, and I'm not necessarily the most qualified person to discuss this. But I tried to give my own 2 cents, and hopefully I gave some worthy news or something. I don't know. So yeah, if you're one of those protesters, be safe, be wary, and make sure that you have medical supplies or such, because you or your fellow protesters might need it. And Black Lives Matter. Justice for George Floyd. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow my Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.